Hakim, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
All right, so before we jump into voice and video, I'd love to learn about a little bit more about Twilio for those in our audience who don't know about Twilio yet, and about your role there. So, what is Twilio? What do you all do? And what's your role at the company?
Bill, I'll start a little bit with myself. That's not because I'm full of myself, but in general. Uh, I spent close to 19 years at a company called Cisco, where we, to an extent, pioneered a voice over internet or voice over IP and video over IP, creating solutions like telepresence, WebEx, and what have you. From the sidelines, I've been always following Twilio. What Twilio really, from the inception, was it was demystifying this complex telephony stuff and making it super, super easy for developers, creating an API ecosystem around these complex telephony servers. You had the likes of Cisco, the Nortels, the Vias back in the day. And Jeff Lawson, our co-founder and CEO, he started looking at the complexity, and he started thinking about how do we simplify it for everyday developer. That was the inception of Twilio. And since then, the company has evolved. We are a large public company now. If you were to think about us today, Bill, we are a customer engagement company, and allow me to define what that means. Uh, Today, you get an SMS from your dentist that your cleaning appointment is tomorrow, or you get a voice call from them, or you go during this pandemic, you do a televisit with your family physician. All these channels of engagement and touch points for consumers that businesses already were on the path. This digitization path has been going on for a while, and that has accelerated massively in the last 15, 18 unfortunate months. Twilio is a platform at the center of this digitization where businesses can engage with their customers with data, with context, with the channel of choice, all the way from messaging to voice to video to email, what have you, and every flavor of messaging, whether it's in Asia, people using WhatsApp or Facebook or pure SMS. That's what we do. And we literally demystify all these modalities for the developers so that they can build these modalities in their workflow. Just in your example, your dentist sending you an SMS, perhaps, or you getting an OTP from your bank. Perhaps a developer wrote a few lines of code that allowed that workflow to become real. That's what we do. We are a customer engagement company. We literally host trillions and trillions of transactions on our platform every year.
And I think that's that's a great segue into kind of what we really want to talk about, which is, and you mentioned the interaction with the dentist, and then also a telemedicine visit with a family physician. And I think that's the thing that I'm hoping you can help our audience with, is understanding and sort of demystifying that complexity of voice and video communications. Because, customers today want to be engaged on the platform that they want, as you said. And increasingly, that is voice and video. And that might seem a hard thing if you're a developer to build into your app. So let's start with maybe your impression. What are some of the challenges that developers and teams face when trying to build voice and video engagement into the applications and systems that they're developing?
Yeah, I'll go back into my history. I started as an engineer, as a programmer in a couple of startup companies before working for Cisco. Back in the day, we had chipsets like DSPs where you would write special signaling processing code, where you would get bits and bytes of audio and packetize them and send them to the other side and demultiplex them and reconstruct the video. The whole process is super complex. If you think about internet, from its inception, was not built for real time. Over time, it has evolved. Voice, to an extent, is, and video more so, is real time. As you and I are talking through this interaction, if my conversation or my joke had a 30 seconds lag, it would be ineffective. So the hardest part in voice and video is to preserve the fidelity while being real time. And for every developer, not that they can't do it, we did it back in our day. It's really, really hard work to set up the infrastructure, to set up the routing infrastructure, to traverse the firewalls, to have the right codecs, to have the right bits flowing through the pipe. It's super complex. It's a lot of work. What we do at Twilio is we make those building blocks as a part of our infrastructure, and to an extent obfuscate all that complexity from a developer so that they can just call an API, like make call with this set of primitives to build, and it just works. To give you an example, especially in video, video has multiple aspects. Like you and I are talking, it's important for lip sync to happen, right? All those smaller bits are super important. We have an app, sample code, which is open sourced, that, Bill, I promise, you can go download in 5 minutes, write your first video application. That is the promise of Twilio, while preserving pristine quality over the infrastructure we have built over time. So the net would be, we do not want the developers to spend a lot of their valuable time in creating the plumbing, in thinking about the codecs, in thinking about the bits. We want them to add value at higher sort of layer, like you said. Your telemedicine visit should push you into a lobby where a medical representative or assistant interacts with you. Then all that interaction should be transposed into the room that you are with your doctor. And that's the level we expect businesses to work as video becomes more and more ingrained in everything we do every day.
It's more video as a service, right? I mean, you're providing voice and video as a plug-in option for development teams so they can focus on the apps and the systems that for their company that they're building, and they don't have to sort of go off, like you said, on the plumbing. I think that's really a great analogy. What recommendations do you have for development teams who are looking to incorporate voice and video into their applications? I'm thinking now less from maybe a technical perspective, because truly, as you're describing it, using the API, the technical process has gotten a lot easier from when you started now. So, but I'm thinking here more about the right way to design, to incorporate video into an application where it makes sense, and when it makes sense, how to do it in the right way. Like, do you have advice for teams and developers that are considering that? Like, even if it's just as simple as, this is where a window should go, or this is a situation where it works well, or this is a situation where it doesn't work well. Or if you're going to do it, here's a best practice. What are some tips that you would give to listeners and viewers?
I think, Bill, one of the key things is for developers, I would say, I'll reiterate one of the points. We have made it super simple to plug in video, whether you have a web browser, whether you have a mobile client, or whether you have any other modality. We have made it simple, that part. What I would ask the developers is focus on the business case, business use case, and the experience. To your point, whether a patient should show up on the top pane or the lower pane of in a telemedicine appointment, that's more important, and we have data to share what has worked well for our customers, so we can advise our customers how to do it, how not to do it. We also have a lot of advice for our customers based on our experience, how to set up their SDKs as they build our video and voice applications in their mobile or desktop clients, how to parameterize it based on different conditions of network they're operating in. Look, Bill, you and I have seen this. You go into a hotel, you have crappy Wi-Fi, and you have to hit this important conference call or an appointment or a workflow. I'll give you another example. We have a really good customer that has basically taken the notary workflow, which you and I used to go to a notary, wait in a line, they get all this, and used video to go ahead and create a complete end-to-end workflow. My advice to the developers thinking about extending their brand, thinking about acquiring more business through virtual means. Look, the pandemic is going to end, is that video has become a natural extension. Focus on user experience, focus on the data that they require to make that user experience and business flow simple. Leave the bits of plumbing and leave the bits of the transport to us. We know how to do it better, and we'll advise you every step of the way. We have a lot of payer side on the insurance, medical insurance side, but they are trying to build experiences off of us from a healthcare platform standpoint. How we advise them is, hey, look, our experience, what has worked from a user experience standpoint for our other customers. We roughly do 1 billion minutes of video. I'm not talking about conferencing. Look, we are not a conferencing platform between Zoom and Microsoft and Cisco and Google. That modality has been spoken for. But we are here to help the rest of the business cases. And one of them is we just beta the product. I know we're going to talk about it in a little while, is Twilio Live, that I'm super excited about. And where you basically, what is happening is there are these mega trends. We always had broadcast of video. You do webinars and you have thousands and tens of thousands of users listening on demand. But the rise of the Clubhouse and the TikToks of the world, there is this new prefix that has gone into streaming. It's called interactive, and it's super critical. Why is it super critical? Because it has near real-time characteristics associated with it. Imagine you and I on a panel, and we have an audience listening, and we're trying to solicit responses from them on a poll or something mid-conversation. So the characteristics have to be near real-time. And there is no point in every enterprise inventing that experience. We have already invested a whole lot in the infrastructure, in the APIs, in the guidelines, in the documentation, do's and don'ts of that experience. That's where we can really, really help developers accelerate these modalities into their business flows or whatever the use case might be.
Yeah, let's talk about the user experience. I think that's really important. You talked about, because I love the example you gave of where to put the patient's box in the video chat, because that's something that I think maybe can get overlooked sometimes if you don't take if you're not making a conscious effort during the dev process to do that. What are some of those lessons that you've learned and seen in the data around user experience for voice and video? Are there things that turn people off when it comes to voice and video that are relevant for developers? And are there things that maybe customers really like or have told you that, yes, this is the way that I want to interact with voice or interact through voice and video with a company?
One of the things we have learned is we have a spectrum of customers. I told you an example of a notary. I can give you an example of people who unfortunately are incarcerated and televisits associated with them. We have education, we have health, very, very diverse set of customers. We have banking. So there's no one size fits all. But that's where it becomes super powerful being a platform company, Bill. What I mean by that is we give you an SDK on the client side. You can orchestrate and play with the experience that works from an engagement score better for you. So in my opinion, the best experiences are built, they're not bought off the shelf. What you saw during pandemic, the likes of Zoom, the likes of WebEx, people gravitated towards them really quickly because this was the only way to create business continuity. What we have seen since then, that the customers have started building curated experiences. I'll give you examples. Like in companies, while you have these employee resource groups that are supporting a particular cause, they want to decorate their rooms in a certain way. So they require platforms. The off-the-shelf platforms don't allow them to do so, other than the basic virtual backgrounds. They don't allow them to do so. So what we are seeing is basically due to the flexibility that our SDK provides on the client side, people can curate these experiences quite a bit. I'll give you an example of a fitness company that has standardized on Twilio. Eventually, there were a bunch of experiences. Do I put square grids? Do I put round faces? Do I do what? Eventually, they gravitated towards having a round sort of in the middle face of the trainer and everybody else fitting on the sides, because that's the experience that was most amenable to their users. That's only possible when you have a platform that allows that flexibility very simply. It cannot be that your developers have to go back to the drawing board and write tens of thousands of lines of code. It is that you can simply tweak a few parameters and test the new experiences really, really quickly. That's what we have observed. And it is really, really important, Bill. We're a customer engagement company. You'll get tired of me saying that again and again. And it is so important to get that experience piece right. Whether it is when we send a message to you for your dentist appointment, or when you are in a video experience that is back and held on our platform.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to say that it does come down to the uniqueness of the company and the customers and the experience, right? It isn't a one size fits all. So, in the final sort of minutes here that I have you for, I'd love to get a little more technical and draw a little more on that engineering background, the technical background you have, which is, if you were talking to developers. And do you have any recommendations or any feedback? Does it matter what IDE they're using, or does it matter what languages they're proficient in? Does it matter? Is there any information you would share with them to help them, develop their skills at using voice and video and incorporating that in the apps and systems that they're building? Or because of what you're saying, you've got the API, it's so simple, it really doesn't matter. Your platform is kind of environment agnostic.
To an extent, we are environment agnostic, but for every developer today, my recommendation would be don't invent the wheel. We have open sourced our sample apps. Go download those apps, look at our source code, and make that a starting point of your experience. I was just talking to a founder of a very unique dating application. The founder had one more developer that was they were writing code. So and they had written a lot of code, and they ran into a couple of issues, so we got on a call with them. In the end, what we ended up doing is pointing them back to our open source code so that they did not have, we have already figured out some of the bugs that they were encountering over the last so many years. That would be my real starting point for them. Then the second point would be read our documentation. Our documentation actually, back in my previous employer, we used to envy the APIs and the documentation that, because Twilio invented this space called CPaaS, communication platform as a service. And our documentation is very, very good. Read that, download our sample code, and make that a starting point, and use our excellent support services to help you navigate. Look, we are a developer. We have millions of developers on our platform. We take a lot of pride in making a developer a first-class citizen on our platform. That's how we sell. If you listen to our CEO's talks, he'll say, look, my first customer was a few cents, and I saw them grow over time to millions of dollars in ARR. And we are a usage-based platform. This is because we care and cater to developer and their experience every single day. They are our primary customers. So that would be the starting point. Uh, Bill, I'm gonna pivot a little back, if you don't mind, on this Twilio Live thing. I think I spoke about the rise of these sort of newer paradigms of customer engagement. Video has been in customer engagement channel, and if you and I were talking about something else, we would use video, whether we were colleagues or customers or friends. But this new paradigm, if you think about what TikTok has done, what Clubhouse is doing through audio, and we provide solutions for, we are modality agnostic on our platform. You can do audio, you can do video, you can do content, and you can have millions of viewers behind our platform in a very interactive way, where they send emojis, where they send responses. It's a really, really hard problem to solve. And I have a lot of enterprise customers coming to us say, hey, we are looking for greater employee engagement. How do we build those experiences? Is it a heavy lift? Many of them tried on their own, and it's a massive heavy lift, and they are now coming to us and starting using this platform. We just announced the beta for this particular product, and I have close to 500 customer signups on it already, and we're trying to get them through the funnel as fast as possible. So this new engagement channel, whether you think about it in group shopping, where you have big audiences if you have watched these TikTok videos, or you think about them in fitness, where you have very large classes, or you think about them in talk host style video broadcasts. These new experiences to engage your customers and then get data about them is the latest modality in customer engagement. And our aim is we already are a leader in this platform, to create a platform that developers throughout enterprises or technology providers that build these experiences for customers, to be the platform for that. I am super, super excited about this launch. And I cannot tell you enough how much inbound interest we have in this at this point in time.
Well, so when is Twilio Live? When is that? When is it launching? When the beta's out? You said. Do you have an official launch date yet? In case people want to go check it out, or how do they find out more about the beta?
Twilio.com/live. Very simple URL, and we are going to be generally available around October timeframe, when our Signal is our biggest show of the year, and that's when we are going to be generally available. And it's an extension of our video platform. It doesn't only do video, it does audio only. Look, if you think about the events, if you think about the big conferences, Signal used to be an in-person event. What has happened during these last 15, 18 months is the conferences went virtual. You saw the rise of platforms like Hopin, etc. But the way we think about the future is it's all going to be hybrid. You'll have people coming physically to conferences. People by nature are gregarious. We want to shake hands. We want to see each other. But in order to reach greater audiences, you're going to have platforms that are built on Twilio Live-like platform that extend these experiences virtually to a greater number of customers, thus expanding reach and creating a lot more engagement. Very, very excited about this, Bill.
Well, I think that's a great place to end it, because, we definitely want to break down those barriers to engagement, not just with customers, but with people, and the geographic barriers and the cost barriers, and allow more people to participate in events. So, Hakim, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Bill. Appreciate it.
And thank you to all our viewers and listeners for joining us. You can listen to more episodes of Dynamic Developer on your favorite podcast platform, or watch a video of each episode, as well as read a transcript at TechRepublic.